saints, he gave us time to get things in order, to get things right with him. For he sends his son to redeem us back to him. What a great opportunity to be alive at this time, to see the manifestation of the scriptures and prophecies being unfolded right before us. So with that being said, today's title and lesson is entitled, Only a Remnant Will Be Saved. I repeat, only a remnant will be saved. And we know that a remnant is a small number. A remnant is not a lot of people. But we must ensure that ourselves, as we self-examine ourselves on a daily basis, that we make ourselves available for the Most High to keep us in that remnant. Con? Because, I don't know about you saints, I don't want to be left out of the kingdom. So we must strive for excellence in every aspect of our walk. And remember the works and the words of our Savior Yeshua. Because he is our blueprint in all things. Con? All right. Yeshua, can you read the commentary, please?
Come. We have a little bit, just a little bit of water. And like Sister Kathy, if you could please turn the volume back up in the lobby area one more time, please. The water. I know I turned it down. All right. Whether it's the Christian church, Hebrew Israelite groups, or other religions, it seems that most believe that a majority of people, or more than a remnant, will make it to heaven. And in some instances, it seems that even the worst people, or everybody, makes it into paradise. Is this really the case, or do the scriptures tell us something different? And how many will really make it to the kingdom? When we get the understanding according to the Bible, we get a much different picture painted to us than what society ascribes to.
Because, you know, that's the message of the first day church. As long as you love, we all make it. But as we know, the Bible says differently. And we must apply what the Bible said, not what we hear, what they want to say the Bible says. Con? All right? So we're going to go in this definition, remnant. And a rocket bar, will you please read the definition, please?
That which remains after a part is done, performed, told, or passed. So, what remains after what is done? The purge, the test, the trial, there's a sign for you to come out of. See, you determine how your trial ends. If you walk in the faith of Yeshua and know that you have victory in his name, then what? The remains is what? The remnant, which is yourself. But we got to keep that mindset knowing that whatever comes our way is so that what? We can be part of the portion that is what? Completed. Huh? All right, let's get Genesis chapter 3, verse 14. First precept. The book of Genesis, chapter 3, verse 14. First scripture is coming from the book of Genesis, chapter 3, verse 14. And the Most High Power of Highest said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life.
So we know the story about Adam and Eve, how the serpent came and beguiled Eve, right? So when you look that word serpent up in the Hebrew, it means enchant, sorcerer, poisoner. So he came to poison Eve with what?
false ideology of thinking that if you didn't eat something, you would become as gods. So that's the first line of defense is what? Tricking your mind. So let's keep that in mind, because it's very important to know that being what? The righteous remnant to make it to the kingdom, because our mind got a big factor to play in all of this. Go ahead.
Verse 15. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise thy heel.
And those that have taken the academy, the elders went into great information, expounded on the woman's seed and the serpent seed. It's talking here, the woman being Israel and also the serpent. So we know that the attack is upon us, because why? We are the image that Satan didn't want to bow down to. So the attacks will come, but we know we got faith, we got the trust, and the power in the higher through his son Yeshua. Commentary.
With the fall of mankind through Adam and Eve's sins, the Most High declared that there would be perpetual variance and struggle between the offspring of mankind and the children of Satan. While all mankind is subject to the wrath of Satan and his children, there will be a particular lineage with whom Satan would be at war with the most. Let's get more understanding on who this lineage is.
All right, let's see what this lineage is. Let's get the book of Sirach, chapter 44, verse 16, better known as Ecclesiasticus, chapter 44, verse 16.
This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 44, verse 16. Enoch pleased the Most High and was translated, being an example of repentance to all generations.
Mm-hmm. So we're looking at some examples of the righteous remnant. Go ahead.
Verse 17.
Mm-hmm.
Noah was found perfect and righteous. In the time of wrath, he was taken in exchange for the world. Therefore was he left as a remnant unto the earth when the flood came. Verse 18. An everlasting covenant was made with him, that all flesh should perish no more by the flood. Verse 19. Abraham was a great father of many people, and glory was there none like unto him. Verse 20. Who kept the law of the Most High, and was in covenant with him. He established the covenant in his flesh, and when he was proved, he was found faithful.
See, that's why these spirits attack us, because the Lord is written inside of us now. See, these spirits come to remove that perfect law, that perfect love out of us, to keep us in perpetual sin. Because once they remove the law out of us, they impart themselves inside of us. But see, the more and more we stay connected to our God and to the book and our instruction, the more and more we just keep them away from us. So we got to continue to stay strong, fervent, prayerful, and stay in His Word, because this is where our source, this is where our power comes from, in reading. Go ahead.
Verse 21. Therefore he assured him by an oath that he would bless the nations in his seed, and that he would multiply him as the dust of the earth, and exalt his seed as the stars, and cause them to inherit from sea to sea, and from the river unto the utmost part of the land. Verse 22. With Isaac did he establish likewise, for Abraham his father's sake, the blessing of all men and the covenant. Verse 23. And made it rest upon the head of Jacob. He acknowledged him in his blessing, and gave him an heritage, and divided his portions. Among the 12 tribes did he part them.
Come. So as we see that righteous lineage is started from Adam, Seth, down to from Enoch, Noah, Abraham, and now to the 12 tribes. Now, but what is one thing that kept consistent was the perfection of what the Most High said. See, the world has this thing that you cannot be perfect. That's not true.
That's right.
Scripture tells us what? Be ye perfect as what? As our Father is also imperfect. Why? What's perfect is his sayings. So if we keep what he says, we can stay in the same perfection as our forefathers did. Con? Sir?
This is profound. I was reading this scripture, and I believe it'll parallel to the lesson as well, but it was actually something I just recently said in our office meeting earlier. We were talking about being qualified for a certain thing. In verse 20, it talks about Abraham when he was proved, he was found faithful. So in order to prove yourself, in order to be qualified, you need to first go through a test. So he was found faithful because he proved himself. If someone is going to say that they're qualified, they need to show proof, right? Which means they have had to have passed that test. And that's what our father, one of our forefathers, Abraham, did. And that's where his faith came into play. That's how he proved his faith. I just wanted to bring that out again.
There was just actually my wife's testimony. Thank you, Josiah.
Salaki.
Yep, exactly. So everything comes full circle. The Most High puts you through a trial, give you an example, and then get edification of it. To show you what? That he's real. To show you can endure with anything that comes your way. That's what the remnant knows. The remnant knows and have their mind that, Ahia is going to deliver me out of anything. As long as I keep him first, there's nothing that I can do through Yeshua Christ. By his anointing, his power, right? Con? All right. Let's get the book. We're sitting in Sirach, chapter 47, verse 22.
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 47, verse 22. But the Lord will never leave off his mercy, neither shall any of his works perish. Neither will he abolish the posterity of his elect, and the seed of him that loveth him he will not take away. Wherefore he gave a remnant unto Jacob, and out of him a root unto David.
See, the key word was what? Love. See, we got to remember what love is continually while we're going through a trial. Because that's one thing that these spirits will come to do, try to remove that factor of love, which would take you out of the righteousness of the Most High and keep you in perpetual sin. But see, as the chosen remnant of the Most High, we know what? I got to operate fully in love and make all decisions in love. Even when husband and wife got to come in agreement in what? Love. And what's that love? Knowing that the Most High is in control of whatever we got going on. And I thank the Most High for revealing that to me and my wife, that what? He's in control of all things. A remnant, special people would know that at all times. When we say what? Give it all over to a higher and he'll work it out? Trust me, he will. In his own time. Because what? The remnant is still being what? Gathered and preserved for the eternal and everlasting kingdom. Con? All right. Commentary.
From Adam to Enoch, to Noah, to Abraham, to Isaac, to Jacob, to the 12 sons of Jacob, would be the chosen lineage and remnant of all the nations that the Most High would use to represent him here in the earth. During the times of the flood, only 8 souls were spared, and through that remnant would the earth begin to repopulate itself after that great judgment. We see this theme time and time again where the Most High preserves only a remnant for himself and for saving.
Right, because the Most High is what? He's a God of order. So that's in his order to do that. He does it because of his pleasure. So when we see things happening, it's because he's orchestrating it. He's allowing it. Because he's the what? Most supreme power of all. So let's get the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 6. Familiar scripture. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 6. Very familiar scripture. We read this all the time.
Let's get a come when y'all get there, saints. All right. So this is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Most High thy power. The Most High thy power hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
Because see that holy means what? To be separate. So if you're separate, that means what? You got certain guidelines to follow. So those guidelines are not going to be agreeable to other things that's around you. So these spirits got to try to remove you out of those guidelines the Most High put in place. Because what? They fell from those guidelines, right? So the remnant would know what? Everything that the Most High says still stands. His word never evaporated out of our minds. And he refreshed us when he poured his spirit back inside of us to know what? You're the remnant that I have selected to be mine. But what? We must go through some trials, some tribulations to prove our faith in him to come out as that pure gold that he wants us to be. Next verse, please.
Verse 7. The Most High did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because ye were more in number than any people. For ye were the fewest of all people.
See, the world got this backwards. The world think that you have to be in many number to do things. No. Small number. It's always the smallest thing to bring out the greatest outcomes. Like the smallest ideal makes the greatest things come to pass. Because what happens is, once it starts to grow and mature, then you see the fruition of what the Most High determined from the beginning to happen. It just, what, like Yeshua said, blessed are your eyes because you can see. How you seeing is how you going to believe. If you believe that you are the chosen remnant of the Most High, you're going to see yourself in the kingdom every second of the day. And you're going to strive for righteousness at all times because that's all you want to do is to please him. That's what the righteous remnant knows. Go ahead.
Verse 8. But because the Most High loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers, hath the Most High brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen, from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Verse 9. Know therefore that the Most High thy power, he is God, the faithful power, which keepeth covenant and mercy with them that love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations.
So as long as we love the Most High or higher, he keeps his covenant with us. So the thing is today is that we are the ones that leave the Most High. The Most High don't leave us. Because things will come and try us. And if our faith is not strong enough, it will pull us aside and remove us out of the love. So that's where we get defeated in our minds. And then the lies of the enemy will come in and set in to pull us away from what? That righteous remnant that the Most High said we was. Because that righteous remnant is his glory of him, his essence. Because it's straight from his throne. Go ahead.
Verse 10. And repayeth them that hate him to their face, to destroy them. He will not be slack to him that hateth him. He will repay him to his face.
So the word hate, we have to look at it this way because the world got its own definition of hate. Like hate where I just can't stand you and want to be around you. No, the word hate is simply telling us what? If you're going against what I tell you, then I can't be with you. You know, a carnal mind is what? Enmity against the Most High. Why? Because that carnality has no spirit of him in it. So only the remnant would keep that in mind, saying, look, I got to stay focused. I got to stay straight ahead. Straight and narrow is the way. So I'm looking straight ahead at what's in front of me. Because why? That's my pathway to the kingdom of the Most High. Go ahead.
Verse 11. Thou shalt therefore keep the commandments and the statutes and the judgments which I command thee this day, to do them. Verse 12. Wherefore it shall come to pass, if ye hearken to these judgments, and keep and do them, that the Most High thy power shall keep unto thee the covenant and the mercy which he sware unto thy fathers.
So now that we know who we are, and we're coming back to the knowledge more and more of our book, the more and more we follow what our book says, what the Most High says, the more and more he'll keep us. Even through a purging, he'll keep us. Because why? We still stick with our number one source, is our instruction. See, during a purging, sometimes the instruction phase leaves, because then the complaining field comes in. When they complain and ask why we're going through something, instead of reading instruction, why we in it, and what we're supposed to get out of it. God. So we got to remember what the Most High says and just do them. Simply. Keep it simple. Just do it, and you will see the outcome, what the Most High wants you to see. Go ahead.
Verse 13. And he will love thee, and bless thee, and multiply thee. He will also bless the fruit of thy womb, and the fruit of thy land, thy corn, and thy wine, and thine oil, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep, in the land which he sware unto thy fathers to give thee.
See, that's the blessed thing. By keeping what the Most High says, he's in the business of what? Multiplying. So, once we keep his word and continue to keep it, he multiplies what? More of his spirit continually. That way, when the purge do come, he put enough inside of you for you to go through it. So a lot of times people doesn't make it because they don't put enough of a higher in them. So his power got to be the number one thing, because why? Is his power is going to get you through all things. And see, with these spirits being amplified during this time, we got to have the Most High power to make it. Because by his power, we can do nothing. Even Yeshua knew that when he walked the earth. That's why he says, only one is good but the Father, because it was by his power. And that one mind he kept was, he came from the power of his Father, and his Father gave him the power to do all things. So we have that same power today. Because what? We are in him, and Christ also is inside of us. Con? All right. Next verse.
Verse 14. Thou shalt be blessed above all people. There shall not be male or female barren among you, or among your cattle.
So you be blessed among all people. It's not saying that the other nations are not important, but it's saying what? When you have been separated from amongst all other people with instruction, then your blessings will be multiplied. Then what? Then what you being multiplied with will bless the other nations as well. Because we got to continue what? To keep the love going. Because in this world today, there is no love for the Most High in this land. So we got to be that physical example of what that love is. Because why? We are the only light they see on a daily basis. So we got to keep that light shining in all things. We got to keep that light shining in our homes, in our marriages, between brothers and sisters, whatever we do. Because that's the only thing that's what is going to bring the healing. This world needs healing. How the healing going to come? It's got to come through the Most High's people, the remnant. Because they have the power to heal. And that healing is love. Con? All right, so we go to the next verse here. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 62. More familiar precepts.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 62. And ye shall be left few in number, whereas you were as the stars of heaven for multitude, because thou wouldest not obey the voice of the Most High thy power.
See what happens? When we don't obey the voice of the Most High, you get what? Less, 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 and less. Because doing a purge where you're not obeying his command, you can see yourself falling away even more, and more. Why? You leave it in the instruction. You cannot go through anything in this life without instruction. There's righteous instruction and there's instruction of the enemy. That's why I said, choose you this day who you're going to serve. The God you choose is the one that's going to guide you with the righteous instruction for the life that you want. And that's what the remnant knows. We know that all the instruction we need is through the Most High. Because what? He's the ultimate God, supreme, the loving, that's going to bring all instruction to pass, physically and spiritually. He's the only one who can do it. Ahaya is his name. Next verse, please.
Verse 63. And it shall come to pass that as the Most High rejoiced over you to do you good and to multiply you, so that the Most High will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to naught, and ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it.
See, that's deep in itself. Either way, the Most High is going to rejoice, whether you want to serve him or you don't want to serve him. Because what? He gave us the power of choice. So he gave us the power of choice because why? He wants us ultimately to choose him and to serve him fully. All right. Next precept is Exodus chapter 32, verse 13. And we're going to see another word in this verse to show you also what the remnant is. It's right in this precept.
Still have a few pages there. Everybody there? All praise. I just heard one comment though. Everybody there? All right. This is the book of Exodus, chapter 32, verse 13. Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, thy servants.
Oh, see that? The remnant are servants. The ones that's going to serve the Most High no matter what goes on. So that means what? The remnant is going to serve the Most High and then serve each other and keep serving them with that same love. Go ahead.
To whom thou swearest by thine own self, and saidest unto them, I will multiply your seed as the stars of heaven. And all this land that I have spoken of will I give unto your seed, and they shall inherit it forever.
So during the whole time, the Most High is keeping his promise. So if we keep his commandments, keep what his word say, his promise still lives. It's when we go away from it, now we're not part of the promise anymore. Because see, that remnant knows what? We are a promise possession to the Most High. And this world knows that. That's why it comes to trip you up with what? Devices that would take you away from what the Most High promised you. Because what? These spirits don't want you to have what they once seen. So they have to fight you day and night to pull you away. But as a remnant of the Most High, we know what? We got the power to rebuke and cast them away and to walk in victory in Yeshua. Do we have victory? Do we truly have victory? Do we really have victory? You know Yeshua is our Savior? He gave us that victory, right? When he shed his life, right? And his blood, right? All right, because that's how we got to live every day. Anything that comes our way, we got to say, whoa, I am washed with the blood. Whoa, I am washed with the blood. I've been baptized and became new again. Don't let these spirits get in your mindset that you not ever knew when you are. Because when you wash, you became the new remnant. But now things have to happen to try your faith and to grow your faith into the maturity of what the Most High want. Commentary.
So as we can see here, the Most High didn't choose the largest nation, but chose the nation that was fewest in number, or a remnant of all the nations to be his chosen lineage. The children of Israel were commanded to keep the covenants that were made with their fathers, and if so, they would go from being the remnant on the earth to a nation that could not be numbered as the stars of the heavens and sands of the sea. However, because of disobedience, instead of multiplying innumerably, the children of Israel were scattered and made to digress in number. Now that the chosen lineage has been established, let us keep in mind Genesis chapter 3 with the enmity between the serpent's seed and the woman's seed, and how the serpent is at war in particular with this chosen seed.
Con.